later on watch the video or share it with someone or whatnot. Okay. So to let you guys know, you guys are being recorded on Zoom. I wanted to give you the heads up on that. Okay. And YouTube, excuse me, Zoom and YouTube. Well, it's actually YouTube. Okay. So praise the Holy One. All right. So we got a lot of information to go over today. I'm super excited about what I have to share with you today. Often in our studies, we get kind of lost, I think, what they would call lost in the sauce. And getting lost in the sauce means that, we've been taught so many different things by so many people that we can't even decipher or discern what is true and what's not true. So today I want you to get a pen and paper, and I want you to be able to write down some of these scriptures that we're going to be sharing. And when I say scripture, what I'm talking about is that which is authenticated and shared, okay, and written in the Hebrew. We have to define what scripture is. Scripture is not any other writings that does not have Yahweh's signature, okay? And what do I mean by his signature? Well, what I mean by his signature is that it has to have thus saith Yahweh, or the word of Yahweh has come unto me, or Yahweh spoken to Moshe, or Yahweh said unto Aharon. It has to have his name. It has to have his signature. If it doesn't have his signature, then it's not what he said. Okay. And we, as his children, need to be aware of that. And we need to understand that. Okay. We've been lost. We've been tricked. We've been lied to. And a lot of the trickery is in the language. The English language is a very terrible language. You could get, they don't tell you the verbs. They don't tell you the tenses. They don't tell you who's saying what and how many people are talking. Okay. So as a result of that, we get lost. We only, know what we know. So in this class, because this is a class, it's just your Shabbat class. And that's why I encourage you to ask questions. Reason why I want you to ask questions is for a variety of reasons. Okay. Number one, let me share with you what a question is. Okay. In the Hebrew, and you don't have to know Hebrew, to be honest with you, from what I'm talking about, you're going to learn it. Ma. Everybody can say that. Everybody can say that. You've learned English. Okay. So these are English letters, an M, an A, and an H. If I was to write this in Hebrew, okay, it would look a little different. Okay. So from right to left, it would be an M. Okay. And then it would have a little line underneath it. And then it would have a H that looks like this. Okay. So the M is this letter and the H is this letter. And the the vowel right here is this mark right here. That's it. Okay. And it's called ma. Okay. So do you have to know the letters? Yes. You're going to learn the letters like you learned everything else. Okay. Well, what does ma mean? Ma means it's a punctuation, a question. It's either asking what, okay, or really what? What is it? Okay. So in Hebrew, they don't use punctuation marks like this, okay, or exclamation marks. They don't use these markings. They're not from the language. If you have to ask a question, because that's what ma is a question, okay? And the question is what? And then you say, it just says what? And then implied is it. What is it? If you don't know something, you have to ask a question. You should say ma, that you don't know, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. It's the unknown, okay? So ma has to do with a question, meaning that which is not known. There is a Hebrew word that I told one of our sisters today that I was going to share with her. And that word is called kok, ma. Right here is the question. This word kok means power. So kokma in Hebrew is called wisdom. Okay. Well, wisdom is an abstract term. You don't know what it is. You have to figure out what it is. Okay. It's the power of what? Which is a question. It's a question. So that's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the power of what? The power of asking questions. Okay. After you ask your questions, after you ask Yah for kokma, right? Which is wisdom. You ask Yah to give you kokma. He'll give it to you. He'll give you kokma. He'll give you kokma.
He'll answer your questions.
He'll answer your question. Okay. So after you get the wisdom, the next thing you're going to ask him is for knowledge. Okay. And knowledge is called da'ath. Da'ath. Okay. The dalit, which is this first letter D. And then here, that's just the ah for a vowel. And then ath, which is here. An ayin. Okay. And then they have a ta, which is a tav right here. The different letters. Well, you know the language. I don't. It's adath. Okay. Or doth. Doth means door. And then this ayin means the eye. Okay. Okay. And this is the mark. If you know your Hebrew, and I'll send you, if you don't have a Hebrew book or whatever, and send me your email, I'll send this information to you. Okay. So the door of the eye. What's the door of your eye? Your eyelid. So what is da'ath? What does it mean? It means you see something. Okay. You have your eye on something. So what do you look at? What are you looking for da'ath? You're looking for knowledge. You find knowledge by searching and looking with your eyes. The door of your eye. Okay. And if you reverse these letters and make it to an ayin and a dalit, it means that you're a witness. And this is in Hebrew. You're a witness because you saw something with your eyes. And you opened your door, which is your lids. Okay, so you're not only a witness, but you have knowledge of something now. Okay, so Kokma is wisdom, to ask the questions. Knowledge is to have what they would call visual, because you're using your eyes, observation. Move this down here. Visual observations. Okay, once you get that down, when you see something, you make some observations, they would call that an idea of measurements, because now you can measure, and you can measure the length. Okay, you can measure the width, you can measure the height, you can measure the distance, you can measure you can look at the colors. That's why Yah gave you eyes. Okay. Now, the last one is understanding. And understanding is called binah. Binah. Forgive my handwriting. Binah. Okay. So what is binah? Binah has this idea of a bet, which is a tent. It's a bet, which has to do with a tent. Then it has the noon right here, which is a seed. And then it has what? A H on the end, to behold, to look. Okay. But the seed means to continue. Okay. So what's the idea of the tent and the continue? Continue the tent. Well, how do you continue the tent? You have to what? You got to build it. You got to do some replacements. And this is the same word or letters that are used for the word bain, which means son, or daughter, benoth, daughters, because you build a family. So in conclusion of this quick teaching here of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, I'm going to clean it up for us so it can look a little bit better, so you can write your notes and you'd be like, wow, this teacher is horrible. He writes so messy and he's disorganized. Let me clean it up a little bit, okay? And give you the idea of what's going on, okay? So I'm going to go wisdom. Okay. I'm going to go knowledge. And I'm going to go understanding. Okay. So wisdom is asking questions. Okay. And you know what the word is kokma. Okay, forget that. Coke ma. Okay. The next thing is you have knowledge, which is visual observation. Okay. Which is what? Da'ath or da'ath. Okay. Then you have, after you do that, then you're going to build. Okay. Which has to do with the word binah. Okay. So the idea of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding has to do with asking questions first. You ask questions first. Then you're going to do visual observations. Okay. Okay. What needs to happen? Boom. Ask some questions. Knowledge. Take some visual observations. Take some measurements. Then after you measure stuff, then you can go ahead and then you can go to what they would call building, which is banah. Okay. To build. That's the process. And that's what we're trying to teach you in the Torah. So it's important. It's imperative that you ask questions. If you don't ask any questions, then you're not going to be able to understand. You're not going to be able to get more out of what you're supposed to. And that's not what I want for you. I want you to get everything you need to get out of this class, because you're in class. You're not in a religious service. You know I play my music and stuff like that, and I might harmonize some Hebrew and stuff like that, but you are really here to learn, right? And that's what a lot of people don't want to teach you. They don't want to teach you anything. They just want to tell you what they think. I'm not here to tell you what I think. I'm here to tell you what I know and what I've studied and what you should know. And you should verify everything that I say. Okay. I want to begin our study off with telling you this Torah portion this week was called Bashalak. And I'm going to be moving a little quickly because we got a lot of information to cover. Okay. So this week, our Torah portion is called Bashalak. We don't read, we're just where we want to read. Okay. As a people, our problem is we got some people that will that are going to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're going to read the book of Revelation. They're going to read Peter. Everybody's on a whole different agenda. Okay. And when you talk to people, they don't understand what you're talking about because they're not on the same path. Okay. So we're on a different path, which is the Hebrew word called derek, like your word Derek is Derek, Derek, just like a friend named Derek. It's a path. Okay. And you and I have to stay on the path in order to follow Yah's ways. And this means to tread. We need to tread this, and we're all treading it together. Now you go hear some passion that's going to come out of my voice because I'm telling you, I spent hours and hours and hours talking to this young man from Buffalo, New York, that someone gave him my information. And he said, hey, this guy from New York came up to me and he gave me your deal. You know, he said, he gave him my information and said, you need to listen to this guy. And we had a long discussion, and I wasn't being disrespectful to him. He believes in a lot of different things, about the New Testament and being saved, and he has the Spirit of God and all these things, and that's fine. And he was surprised that I didn't attack him, because I'm not interested in attacking anybody and what they believe, because that has nothing to do with me. It's a matter of what you know. It's not a matter of what you believe. Believing something is so abstract that it can't be quantified, and you can't qualify it. So it's easy to believe anything. Anybody can believe anything. Some people believe that they're, all you got to do is believe something and it happened. It's magic. So you can't fight people on what they believe, and you're wasting your time. Okay. So what we're talking about is being on a path, and the path that we're on is called the Torah. Okay. This is where we follow, because this is what the Creator had told Abraham. Should I not reveal to Abraham exactly what I'm going to do, considering he's going to teach his children to guard my path, my ways? Okay. So weekly, we read. Every week we're in the Torah, and every day we read out of the Torah a certain portion. Okay. And we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Every week. Okay. So is that to say that you can't read in the book of Deuteronomy? No. What it means is you better do this first. This is what Yah wanted to give to us today or this week, day by day. Every single day, you're supposed to get a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to click on this right quick. I told you I'm moving fast today, and I'm going to be talking a little fast. So when I click on this, and this website is called kabah.org, it's a Jewish website. We only go here not because I'm this guy dancing on a mountain, and I'm not Jewish. I'm a Hebrew, okay? And I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but I'm using the tools that are available to me, okay? There's no other website. There's other websites like the Safaria. This is this website. I like this one. Why? Because I could get right to where I want to go. I can maneuver around it, and it could tell me some things. Yes, iPhone 13. Go ahead, ask question.
And you see how it has those the first, second, third on the top.
Yes.
I mean, is that the way you're supposed to read the Torah, or do we just read it from from Exodus 13 all the way to 14?
That's a great question. I appreciate that question. That's wisdom. Wisdom tells us that based on your question, you want to know, right? You're asking Ma. So what does this mean? This first day, second day, third day, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Okay, they all have names. Okay. Rishon, Shani, Shalishi, Revi. Great. If you want to know the Hebrew on that, you're going to have to eventually. This is Yom Rishon. So this is what they would call S-U-N day. Okay. The second day is Shani, okay, which they would call M-O-N day. I'm saying I'm not calling these names out any longer because these names are named after gods. This name here, T-U-S or E-S-D-A-Y, is named after a god. It's from the German gods, from the Nordic gods. Okay, so you don't supposed to mention any other name out of your mouth that says another god. So you got to know what the names are. The first, you could call it the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. Rishon, Shani, Shalishi, Revi'i, Kamishi, Shishi, and Shavi'i. Okay, so every single day you're supposed to click. Yes, Rifkwa.
They also have it outlined in the Torah scroll, so you can see it, and in the CBJ where it has 1, 2, 3. So it's broken apart there too.
Yes, it's broken apart. So if you don't know, but this is just a quick tool that you go to. So when you look at day number 1, you should supposed to have read chapter number 13, verses number 17. Chapter number 13 to verse number 17. Let me move this thing out the way right quick. To 14:8. That's where you're supposed to read. And you're supposed to read it and you're supposed to meditate on it. That's it. And then, of course, there's other books like the Psalms that go along with this as well that you can read, and it gives you a little bit more understanding. Okay. So Yah is saying that I don't want you to read and just keep reading, because you can read a whole bunch and you don't get any understanding. Then the second day. So that's day number 1. The second day you click on, let me click on it right here. The second day tells you what you're supposed to read from 14:9 to 14:9 to verse 14. What is that? That's a few verses. That's it. That's what you're supposed to have read on Yom Shani. Okay. Now you can read the English. You're like, oh, that's just, the Egyptian shaped after them. Okay. Well, what am I supposed to get out of that? Well, this is the reason why I want you to learn how to read this language, because this over here is nothing compared to this. This gives you insight on how things are being done. It's telling you what verbs are being done. So you say, well, I can't see that. I don't understand that right now. What can I do? Okay. So what you do is you're going to go to what they call the Bible Hub. Okay. You're going to go to the Bible Hub, and you're going to go to that in particular chapter, which is chapter number 14. And you're going to go to verse number 9, where it says it starts. And you're going to go there, right? And once you go here, you're going to look at it and you're going to still read it in English. And this is BibleHub.com. What you're going to do is you're going to click on this number up here. You're going to click on that. And when you click on it, it's going to say what the Hebrew word is, which is called Radaf. Radaf. Are you going to remember that? Maybe, maybe not. That's not what you're here for. What you're here for is to find out, what does radaf mean? It means to pursue and to chase, to persecute. You're going to get a little bit more information. It's going to tell you all the different places it's used, and then it's going to tell you how it's being used. Is it a verb? You understand? So then you're going to go back to the word again, and you're going to take it. That's why you should be on the Torah portion. So you might think I could just read English and I'm done and there's nothing else to talk about. No, you have to know. So here, if you're a student, you're going to go, well, what does that V mean? That's a verb. What does that QAL mean? Where's qual? That's the type of verb it is. So if you're a student and you're wise, you'll ask questions. Well, what does this mean? Well, what does that CONJ mean? And with this W, what is that? And you'll find out that it's a conjunction. And you say, well, I don't know what a conjunction. I don't remember that. I haven't been in school in years. You'll go and you'll find out that this first letter right here is a conjunction, which is wa, which is right here. And it tells you how to say the Hebrew word right here. Y, yir, de, fu. That's how you say it. So then you try to figure it out and you go, well, how do I get that Y? So I got to go to Dawid and he'll tell me how to look at this and how to read this. You see? And then you go right here. Y, yir, de, fu. Y, this right here. Yir, right here. De, right here. Fu, right here. Y, yir, de, fu. Then you'll say consecutive imperfect. What is that? That requires wisdom. Okay, it's a grammatical tool. What is this? Who are you talking to? The fu, the third person masculine plural. Not one individual, a group of people. Okay, and then you go on to the next word, Mitzrayim. It's named Egypt. Okay, so I'm trying to get you guys to understand something right quick before we get into our Torah portion, is that you have to become a student. It's like going to college or going to elementary school all over again. You're going to start in elementary, go to middle school, you're going to go to high school, you're going to go to college, and you're going to get your master's degree and your bachelor's. You're going to get your doctorate. It's all education. I'm still learning as we speak. So I wanted to share that with you to encourage you that this is not about being religious. And anything that you and I are going to do together as a family is we all have to be on the same path. Now, I know more than a majority of everybody, right? You say, well, you know more, so you actually have more power. No, I don't. The same cycle that you are on is the same cycle that I'm on. I'm on the same day that you're on. I'm on the same cycle that you're on. I'm going down every single week, just like you. So we're going to go here and we're going to go to Yithro, this coming up tomorrow on Yom Rishon. And we're going to start this. And then we're going to next week, we're going to do Mishpat Tim. And then next week, we're going to do this. We're all on the same path. We're all going together as a family. We're traveling. Then we're going to go Wayik. Yes.
And this is all over the world. So people in New
Yes.
York, people in London, everywhere, when you keep the Torah, that's the path of Yahweh.
It's the path of Yahweh. So Yah is bringing his people on this path. And a reason why I mention this is because sadly, the young man I spent hours talking to last night, he is not on this path. A lot of people are not on this path. They don't want to be on this path. And that's the reason why they don't know Yah. And that's the reason why they don't know what his voice is, because they're not on the same path. Here it is. We're going to start cooking now. Jeremiah chapter number 7, verse 21 says this: Thus saith Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Yisrael. Okay. You said, well, where'd you see Yahweh at? Right here. For those of you who don't know, they use the word Adonai here because they think his name is too holy to be pronounced. Okay. But that is, every time you see this word here, it means Yahweh, Yohe-Wahe, which is a Y, a W, an H, an H, a W, and an H. Wah, Yahweh. Okay. Some people say Yahweh, some people say Yahweh, some people say Yehovah. That's what they say, but the essence of his name is the self-existing one, the powerful one. Well, what's the difference between Adonai right here and Adonai right here? One is capitalized and the other one is not. Well, this one up here just means master of masters. Okay, master of masters. because that's what the word Adonai means, master of masters. So what they did, they said, well, we don't want to call his name Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh because it's too holy to pronounce. And this is what these scholars decided to do. Yah has introduced his name to the children of Israel and said, this is my name forever. And that's in chapter 3 of Exodus, verse number 14 and 15. And it's from generation to generation. This name right here, Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh, is going to be in the covenant and is mentioned 7 times. It's Yahweh's signature. This is the reason why it says Yahweh Zavaoth, the Elohim of Israel, says, you may as well eat the meat of burnt offerings along with that of your sacrifices. He's telling Jeremiah, tell the people I'm going to destroy them anyway. I'm angry. I'm very angry. I'm about to destroy the men, the trees, the animals. I'm about to burn everything up. And he said, you guys might as well eat the meat of your burnt offerings. All burnt offerings supposed to went to Yahweh. He's saying, doesn't matter right now. I'm so angry. You guys can go ahead and eat that meat that you burned of me. Go eat it up. Doesn't matter. Okay. With all your that of your sacrifices. For I didn't speak to your ancestors or give them orders concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. Question. Some people say that this is a direct contradiction of what he said, because he told them in Leviticus chapter number 1 about burnt offerings. So I get a lot of Christians and Hebristians, a Hebristian is a hybrid, that would say to me, well, he said right there in Jeremiah 7:22, I didn't speak to your ancestors or give them orders concerning burnt offerings and sacrifices. I don't want sacrifices. This is the reason why we accept Yeshua as our HaMashiach, and he's the offering, because he didn't want these offerings. Right? So this seems like a contradiction. But guess what it says? Let's continue. He said, rather, what I did say was this. Pay attention to what I say. Pay attention to what I say. Then I will be your Elohim, your power, and you will be my people. In everything, live. Oh, praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Live in the way. Okay, that what right here, this word right here, way again, means derek. Derek, that I ordered you so that things will go well for you. But they neither listened nor paid attention, but lived and walked according to their own plans. They got their own plans and the stubbornness of their evil hearts, thus going backward and not forward. Okay. And he says, you have done this from the day your ancestors came out of Egypt until now. He's condemning them. And the people that he's talking to are the people that are about to go into exile. He says, even though I sent you all my servants, the prophets, sending them time after time, they would not listen or pay attention to me, but stiffened their necks, and they did worse than their ancestors. So tell them this, but they won't listen to you. They won't. You can talk all day long to people, and if they're a stiff-necked, they're not going to listen. Likewise, call to them, but they won't answer you. Therefore, say to them, this is the nation that has not listened to the voice of Yahweh, their Elohim. They won't take correction. Faithfulness has perished. It has vanished from their mouths. Period. They won't listen. They won't pay attention because they're not following his way. That's the problem with our people. This is the problem with Israel. Exodus. So where did he get this from? Where I didn't ask for burnt offerings when I brought him out of Egypt. You're absolutely right. He didn't ask him for burnt offerings. This is what he says in Exodus when he brought them out. This is after they had this wonderful song of being delivered from Mitzrayim. Listen what they said. Chapter number 15, verse 22. So you can remember chapter 7, verse 22 of Jeremiah. Exodus, chapter number 15, verse 22. You can put it together. So when someone says, here it is right here in Jeremiah, you can say, well, let me show you what he said. Moshe led Israel onward from the Sea of Suf. This is after they came out through the Red Sea, which is called the Sea of Suf, and he just gave them salvation, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. They went out into the Sur desert, but after traveling 3 days in the desert, they found no water. Okay. They arrived at Marah. Okay. Marah means bitterness. Okay. But they couldn't drink the water there. Why? Because it was bitter. Okay. Mara in Hebrew means bitterness, but bitterness means rebellion. Rebellion. It's a reason why God led them there for 3 days, knowing that there wasn't any water there, because he wanted to show them something. So he brought them to a place called Mara. This is why they call it Mara, because it's bitterness, because the water was bitter. They grumbled against Moshe and said, here, this word we're going to talk a little bit about too. It has to do with lodging. It has to do with spending the night. Okay. So they spend the night. It's called Lin something from Hebrew. Okay. So they're complaining against Moshe and ask, what are we to drink? Okay. So this is where it starts. And Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a certain piece of wood, which when he threw it into the water, he made the water taste good. Okay. Let's don't spiritualize this. He told him a certain piece of wood, and he threw it into the water. It was a physical piece of wood. Physical. A certain type of wood, which when he threw it in the water, it made the water taste good. It was no longer bitter. There, Yahweh made laws. This is Coke. Okay. Kokim. That's what he calls them. They're called decrees. He made laws and rules, judgments of life for them at this place before they even got to Mount Sinai. Before they even went to Mount Sinai, he already gave them laws. So in Jeremiah 7, he tells them, I never asked you guys for any offerings. I never told them about burnt offerings. What he was saying is the first thing I told Israel is that I'm going to make kukim for them and mishpatim for them for life. I spoke to them, and there he tested them. He said, this is what the Creator said, if you will listen intently, carefully to the voice of Yahweh, your Elohim, and do what he considers right, what he considers, not what you think, what he considers right from his perspective, and you pay attention to his commandments and observe, meaning guard his laws, I will not inflict with you any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians. Yah brought diseases upon the Egyptians. He says, for I am Yahweh, I'm your healer. Healing for us and everything that Yah has asked us to do, it is physical. It's physical, people. When you're running around in the spirit, you can't understand. Yah's laws are physical. He didn't give you these laws so you could go to heaven. He gave you these laws so he could show you the rules of life. I'm going to tell you how to eat for life. I'm going to tell you how to think for life. I'm going to tell you how to deal with your children for life. I'm going to teach you how to do business and how to be fair and equitable for life. I created you to live on the earth. That's why I made you. So your idea of coming up to heaven so you can't execute the laws and the statutes and the commandments that I gave to you and your ancestors? Where in heaven are you going to be able to sow the seed of the field and bring a harvest unto Yahweh? Nowhere. Where are you going to be able to demonstrate that you have a giving heart for the poor? Nowhere. When you're there, all of a sudden now, you're not going to have any kids, right? So women are not going to have menstrual cycles any longer. No, everybody's going to be floating around with a whole bunch of wings. No, that is what you would call witchcraft. Yah has said that I've told you, if you would listen to me, to my voice. This is why we're doing the teaching today. You got to listen to what he says. I'm here to test you. I'm here to test them to see if they're going to do what I say. The test that Yah has for us is to find out whether or not we are going to do what he says. The word test right there is called Nasai. It means I'm going to try them. I'm going to put something on them, and I want to see what they're going to do. There's a Hebrew word that's used, which I'm going to show it to you in a moment, okay, when we get to it in chapter number 16. So after this, after they traveled to Elam, where they didn't, he turned the water from bitterness to good water, then he says, I'm going to travel from Elam. They went there. The whole community of the people of Israel arrived at Sinai Desert, or Sin Desert, between Elam and Sinai. So they're traveling. On the 15th day of the second month, they left Israel on the 15th day of the first month. So now we're talking about a 30-day period. It's been 30 days since leaving the land of Egypt, okay? And there in the desert, the whole community of the people of Israel grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. That's what they did. The people of Israel, and this word is used so much from chapter number 15, chapter number 16, is mentioned all the time, okay? You got to count when you read your Torah portion, like how many times did I see that word? How many? That's the focus. So the community, they grumbled against Moshe and Aharon. The people of Israel said to them, we wish that Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. These are the same people just a few days ago. Yah killed the whole entire Egyptian army and a lot of their people and destroyed Egypt and Pharaoh and killed the firstborn and everything and delivered them. And this is what they say. We wish that Yahweh had used his own hand to kill us off in Egypt. Why? Because they were hungry. Listen to this. There we used to sit around with the pots of meat boiling. We had as much food as we wanted. But you have taken us out into this desert. You, talking to Moshe, you have taken us out into this desert to let this whole community starve to death. Yeah. That's what he said. That's what they said to him. Yahweh said to Moshe, if you notice, there's no Yah talking to nobody except for Moshe. Yah tells Moshe, he says, here, I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. But by this, I will test whether they will observe my Torah or not. By what? By this, I will test. Now, that's in verse number 4, okay? So I'm going to show you the word for so that. Because a lot of times when you read English, you're like, okay, well, that's cool. Where are we? What does it mean? I'm going to show you what the reason why he's testing. This is the reason why Yah's testing us today. The test that Yah gives is for a purpose, okay? It's to see, number one, are you going to follow my instructions? But he said that, here you go, right here, it's in English, but I'm going to read from right to left. You should go out, the people, and gather a certain quota every day, day by day. And here's the word that they said is that. It's a conjunction, meaning lama'an, okay? Lama'an, if you just see that, you'd be like, oh, that's just that. So that's just that. That's not a big deal. What's the big deal? That's just that. That's the word, right? I want you to see what Yah says about that word. It's there for a reason. Lama'an has to do with the idea of seeking an answer. So Yah has a purpose. The word is called lama'an. The lamed, again, is a what? A shepherd's staff. And this is the letter L in English. Same sound, life, love, live, same. You understand? You're just changing it from a L in English to a shepherd's staff. Okay.
May I ask you a question?
Absolutely, Gil.
When you went to that section where you seen the Hebrew and you were able to read it and where did you go?
Okay, so this is what I do. So when I go to Bible Hub, great question. Thank you. When I go to BibleHub.com, right? I go up to the top and it says Exodus, and I'll find the chapter 16. In English, I'll read it and say, well, where's the verse at? It's in verse number 4. So I'll go to Exodus chapter 16 and I'll look for verse number 4. And here is verse number 4. So verse number 4 says, and why you met Yahweh El Moshe, and he said, oh, sorry, clicked on that. And he said, where's it at? And he, the he here is Yahweh said, and here's the L to Moshe. He put the shepherd staff on him, the strong authority. This means a strong authority, strong staff. You see, these two are the same, the way they look. To Moshe, behold, I will reign to you, not to him singular, to you plural. Right here is plural. He's not talking just to Moshe, he's talking to everybody. But for you, you would think you is singular. You right here is plural. Okay, bread, lekim, that's bread, lekim, from the Hashamayim. I'm going to take it from Hashamayim. Okay, yes, Okoti?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. Does everybody understand how to get the Bible Hub to turn into the interlineal?
That's what I'm talking about. How do you
Okay,
turn-
great
Yeah.
question. Thank you, Rifkwa. Okay, so what you do, okay, so the first thing you do is when you go to the Bible Hub, okay, it's going to pop up and it's probably going to look like, let me just get a new thing right here, right quick. So when you go to the Bible Hub, I click on the Bible Hub and it's going to look like this. Okay, BibleHub.com, the first page is going to look like this. What you're going to do is you're going to go and click on the interlinear. You're going to click on this right there. Okay, so let me clear it out. You're going to click on interlin right here. You're not going to click on Hebrew because the Hebrew would give you the Hebrew, but it won't give you the interlinear. The interlinear is going to break everything down with the vowel points and all the verbs and all that. So then it's going to say up at the top in this box, Genesis. I'm going to click on that and go to Exodus. Then I'm going to go from Exodus and I'm going to go to chapter number 16. Find 16. Now I'm on 16. It goes to 16 and it says, well, here's verse number 1. Well, I want to click on the chapter. So I'm going to go right here where it says click for chapter, and I'm going to click on the chapter. Okay. And once I click on the chapter, boom, it's going to give me all chapter number 16 right here, like that. Now that I got it, I'm going to go and I'm going to go to chapter number 16, verse number 4. Once I got a 4, I'm going to look for the word that it mentioned, which if you want, which I recommend, is that you always go to the Bible Hub to do your studies. And then you compare it to the other, tools that you may have. So when I went to Bible Hub and I go to chapter number 4, I found this word that says that. And I said, well, what does that mean? Like, what's the significance? I click on it because I know in Hebrew that is just not that. It means something. So the word, they have that as the word that they want to put there. But the true word is called ma'an.
No,
And they have it conjugated as lama'an. So what they did is they put a preposition in front of this word right here. It's called a lamed. So called lama'an. So lama'an means for or to with an intent. So Yah is saying that he's going to do this test with intention. He has an intent behind it. He has a purpose behind the test. Okay, there's a purpose and there's an intent. But you go further and you click on the word ana, which tells you the word origin. Where did it come from? So you can get more information. So when you click on ana from ma'an, the answer, it means to answer. So why is Yah testing Israel? According to this,
To get an answer.
Yah is testing Israel to see how they respond. The way that you and I respond is our answer to him.
Whether we keep the diet, whether we keep the
Yes,
Shabbat,
it's
whether we
your-
get up and read the Torah portion every day,
Yes.
take our portion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Yah is saying, if I'm going to do something to you, I'm going to do something to you so I can find out how you're going to respond. Your response to me is your answer to me. What you do is your answer to me. You guys need to hear this. They said that the word means that. If you read that in English, you'd be like, oh, that's just that. And you go right over it like it's nothing. This word right here told me and just told you that Yah has an intent and a purpose. And the purpose is to find out what the response is going to be. So I can find out whether or not they're going to do what I said. What you and I do is our response to Yah. So he doesn't care about what you and I are talking about. He don't care what's coming out your mouth. He wants to know what you're going to do. He wants to know the response. I will know people, and I know who you are by what you do. And the same thing goes for us. If you want to know what someone's going to do, you got to test them to find out. Don't go with people talking about, I love you. I love you so much. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. Is that right? Test them. Find out if that's true. Put them to the test and see how they respond. If they respond, because you have an intention behind your test, okay? So Yah wants to know what our intent is. What I'm telling you is our responses to Yah is through our actions. That's why everything is physical. So when you go to the spiritual world, you can't quantify it. You understand? You look at this. Go ahead.
No, it's kind of like when he sent us into this captivity, he's looking for a response for us to test Yuvah. Yeah. Turn back. It's the same thing. It's a test.
It's a test, but it's going to be based upon
our response.
Your answer is your response. It's how you respond to Yah. Do you remember I told you we need to reflect? We need to reframe. And then we need to what? Respond. It's how you respond that Yah is concerned about. You could talk all day long about how much you love him and then how committed you are and how holy you are. But if he's looking at what are your actions, what is your life and what's your conduct?
It's like taking responsibility for what we did that got us in a situation.
Yes. And you can only do that through your actions. It was your actions of your life that caused you to be put out. It could be your actions that will bring you back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see how your kid get out of the pocket and you're like, hey, you want to be out there? Great.
That's why Yah says if we humble ourselves as a people, he's going to do what?
Yeah. And it's not it's not just, you and I could do what we want to do and then we could throw everybody else out. No, everybody listen to me carefully. As everybody that's on the derrick, that we're on the path, Yah is saying to us today that guess what? I'm evaluating you. I got my eye on you. I'm watching you. I want to see what your response is. How are you going to respond to what I say? Are you going to make excuses on why you can't do what I say? See? Are you going to continue to do what you want to do? Are you going to, like we read, are you going to continue with your own evil plans like your ancestors? Because they said a lot of stuff, but they never did what Yah was said. That's what Yah is saying to us, okay? So here in our response, and that's on the response, our answer to Yah is what we do. So let's find out whether or not they did what he wanted them to do. So Moshe said in verse number 4, here I will cause bread to rain down from heaven for you. That, and we saw you doesn't mean singular. We found in the Hebrew that is Kem, it means plural. The people are to go out and gather a day's ration every day. Whoa, wait a minute. When we first started our Torah portion today, we had a little discussion and to talk about what we should gather every day. Is what? What are you and I supposed to get up and gather every single day?
The manna.
The manna, which is the Torah portion. This is how Yahweh will know and test us to find out whether or not you would obey. That word observe means do. Not my law. I want you to do what I said, which is my instruction.
Yeah. This is what the
follow?
Christians refer to as the daily bread, huh?
Oh, and they said it was, oh, well, you guys can get the true bread from heaven. I'm the true bread from heaven. Well, how about this? The bread that fell down from heaven, if you let it stay overnight, it would have worms because it was living bread. Worms brought upon the death because he said it's going to die at the end of the day. You had to go out and get this immediately before the sun came out because it would melt. So Yah's telling you have a certain amount of time to go out and get this bread. If you don't get the bread, you're not going to have nothing to eat. And then you're not going to be satisfied. You're going to be hungry. Remember, they were hungry. They were starving to death. Yah chose to put them in hunger to prove to them that they needed more than bread. What they needed was every word that comes out of Yahweh's mouth. Here, let's see what he says. Yah says this in Deuteronomy chapter number 8, which is half of chapter number 16 of Exodus. So you can remember 8 and 16. A division of 8 is 16. Okay. So we're in chapter 8 of Deuteronomy, coming out of Exodus chapter number 16. So it's divided in half and change the book. And here it is. All the commandments I'm giving today, you are to take care to obey so that you will live physically, increase your numbers physically, enter the land and take possession. Physical. Yahweh swore to your ancestors physically. You are to remember everything of the way. What way? The derek, the path in which Yahweh, that's the derek again, in which Yahweh led you these 40 years in the desert. He's humbling you and he's testing you in order to know what is in your heart. And here in your heart is in your mind. Whether you would obey his commandments or not. He humbled you. That is not singular, it's plural. Allowing you, plural, you guys, community, to become hungry. He allowed it. And then he fed you with man. They said, man, it's manna, okay? Which neither you nor your ancestors has ever known, to make you understand that a person does not live on food alone, but everything that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. Every word. It takes Yahweh's giving the bread from his command, from his mouth. He's saying, if you don't listen to what I'm saying, you're not going to live. Just like if I didn't speak the manna into coming down from heaven, you're living off of what I just gave you. If I tell you something else and I give you my words is the words that kept you satisfied for 40 years. Don't you understand? I'm letting you know, I'm giving you an example of what I'm talking about. If I gave you bread that fell from heaven and I gave you my words, I could give you some other words. I gave you words that would be life to you. You're so concerned about your stomach, you should be concerned about the words that came out of my mouth. It was the words that came out of my mouth that kept your stomachs filled for 40 years. You guys have to understand who we're dealing with. If I told you something, you need to listen to me. If I told you you need to pay attention, you need to pay attention. If you don't pay attention to me, you're going to die. I'm here to test you. On the 6th day, this is what it is. On the 6th day, when, get this out of here. When they prepare on the 6th day, your preparation is supposed to happen on the 6th day. Your preparation for your food is supposed to be on the 6th day, which was yesterday. Yom Shishi, the 6th day, day number 6. You're supposed to prepare and what you brought in. and turn out, and listen, it will turn out, not magically, turn out to be twice as much as you gathered on other days. In the Hebrew, it doesn't say it like that. It means that you're going to be accounted twice. You're going to go out and get twice as much. Okay. Moshe and Aharon said to all the people of Israel, this evening, you will realize that it's been Yahweh who brought you out of Egypt. The people of Israel didn't think that Yah brought them out of Israel. That was the whole problem the whole time. They kept saying, Moshe and Aharon, you guys brought us out here. You guys brought us out here. But that's a pretense, because guess what? They needed some human element or some human person to blame for the way that they felt. They didn't want to say this to Yah's face. But according to the Psalms in 78, it says that they lied to Yahweh. They knew exactly what they were saying. They're just using the people that Yah put out there. Moshe and Aharon said to all the people, this evening you will realize that it's been Yahweh who brought you out of Mizraim. And in the morning, this is the establishment of the Shabbat. So that evening, they're going to see the glory of Yahweh, okay? That Yahweh brought him out. In the morning, which is Shabbat, you're going to see Yahweh's glory. For he has listened to your grumblings. Again, we see that word again, your lodgings. They were so bent on complaining, they spent the night on it. Every night they were talking about complaining. Every single night they were just holding a grudge against Moshe and Aharon and against the Holy One of Israel. They were not just coming up with this one morning they woke up. They've been simmering on this for the time that they left, because their circumstances around them caused them to feel this way. Okay. So the grumblings and the complainings is when a person is holding on to something. They can't let it go. They're lodging, they're sleeping on it, waking up with it, going to bed with it, walking around with it all day long, go to bed with it, wake up, complain, never satisfied. Against who? Yah has heard your complaints against him. Yah is the one who brings us into our situation and our circumstances. This is what we don't understand. He says, so what are we that you should grumble against us? Another complaint. Why are you lodging against us? Moshe added, what I have said will happen when Yahweh gives you meat to eat this evening and your fill of bread tomorrow morning. Yahweh has listened to your complaints and your grumblings against him. Keep saying, what are we? What are we that you keep going against us? We're nobody. Okay, so your grumblings are not against us, but they're against Yahweh. Moshe said to Aharon, say to the whole community. Now we see Moshe telling Aaron to take responsibility now. So Moshe got the word from Yahweh. Moshe continues to communicate to Aharon and tell him what to say, because Moshe is giving him the responsibility of the priest. So the people can look at what he says, because he's going to be the person who's going to be giving them instructions. But look what he tells him to say. He says, say to the whole community, Israel, come close and to the presence of Yahweh, for he has heard your grumblings. Even though you and I might think that Yah doesn't hear us, Yah hears. Yah hears our grumblings. He hears our complaints. He hears those inner things that you and I just won't let go of. And matter of fact, I read to you last week in the book of Numbers, chapter number 5, that told you and I that if you and I sin against a person, you and I have broken faith with Yahweh. If you have any grumbling and complaint against somebody, don't you hold it in. Don't hold it in, because that's against the Holy One of Israel. You're breaking faith with Yah when you hold a grudge. There's no way that you could be holding a grudge against somebody and go in front of the Holy One of Israel and act like you don't have nothing against somebody. Kids don't like their parents because their parents tell them, hey, this is the way it is. So what do? They hold that grudge. And then when they have the opportunity to do even wrong and justify their behavior, it's because of that grudge that they've been holding on to. When you're at work and somebody's done something to you, the work environment becomes toxic because you're holding on to something that someone did to you. You and I are not in any moral position to be holding a grudge against anybody because you and I have been against the Holy One of Israel. And Yahweh has not held a grudge against us. People have been holding grudges for over 30 to 40 to 50 years and go to their grave with a grudge and think that they're going to go before the Holy One of Israel and it's all going to be understandable. Verse number 10, Aharon spoke to the community of the people of Israel, not one person, the community. They looked toward the desert and there before them, the glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. We went over the cloud earlier this week. Yahweh said to Moshe, I have heard the grumblings of the people of Israel. Say to them, at dusk you will be eating meat. In the morning you have your fill of bread. Then you will realize that I'm Yahweh, your Elohim. Then you'll realize. Yah knows that these people are against him, and he knows that these people have been conditioned. They believe in other gods. They've been over there for hundreds of years. I got to train these people. That's why I'm testing them. He brought them to a place of hunger in order to test them so he can get a response from them, their answer, to see whether or not they would do what he says. That evening, quails came up and covered the camp. And while in the morning, there was a layer of dew all around the camp. Earlier this week, I said, oh, the birds, the quail was outside the camp. And here it says that they were inside the camp. So is Dawid telling us the truth? Yes, Dawid is telling you the truth, because you got to understand, Yahweh has not fed Israel one time. He's fed them several times. The book of Numbers, chapter 11. Says this, the people began complaining about their hardships to Yahweh. When Yahweh heard it, his anger flared up. Now he's irritated. In Exodus, his anger didn't flare up, did it? But here, Numbers, he's flared up because he's been spending time with him. The gentle touch now, he's saying, now I've been gentle enough. Now it's time for me to start taking some action on these people. So his anger got flared up. Now he says, so the fire of Yahweh broke out against them and consumed the outskirts of the camp. Yah burned up the camp. Not the inside of the camp. He burned the outside of the camp. He started burning up everybody's tents and everything, burning all their stuff up, people and everything. Then the people cried out to Moshe, pray to Yahweh. And the fire abated. The place was called Tav Erah, a burning, because Yahweh's fire broke out against them. Why? Because of their complaining about their hardships. That's right. When you keep going on and on and on, and you won't take the discipline, it's time for another course. Next, this happened. The mixed crowds, remember we talked about a mixed multitude went out with the children of Israel? The mixed crowd that was with them grew greedy for an easier life. So the people that went out with Israel, that wanted to join Israel, went out, and guess what they didn't like? They didn't like the fact that they had to go through the test too. They wanted an easier life. So they grew greedy. We want some food. We're hungry. So they started getting Israel in Israel's ear, and Israel started talking crazy. While the people of Israel, for their part, also renewed their weeping because of these people. And said, look at what they said, if only we had meat to eat. We remember the fish. This ain't the first time. This is the third or fourth time. We remember the fish we used to eat in Egypt. It cost us nothing. And the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now we're withering away. We have nothing to look at but this manna. That's all they were mad. They were angry at Yahweh. Yahweh heard this too. This man, which is really manna, the author here is just putting it in Hebrew. The manna, by the way, was a coriander seed. It looked like a white gum resin. The people will go out and gather and grind it in their mills and pound it and make paste and mortar with it, right? They would cook it in pots and bake it in loaves, and it tasted like cakes baked with olive oil, okay? And when the dew settled on the camp during the night, the manna came with it. Moshe heard the people crying, family after family, each person at the entrance of his tent. They were crying, all these people, every single day. And the anger of Yahweh flared up violently, and Moshe was displeased. Moshe had asked Yahweh, why are you treating your servant so badly? Talking about himself. Why haven't I found favor in your sight so that you put the burden of this entire people on me? And he goes on to talk about how these people are just going on and on and on. Okay. But let me get to the point where he calls the food down. Here it says that Moshe, let's see. The people stayed up all that night. Okay, here it is. Verse 31. And Yahweh sent out a wind which brought quails from across the sea. This ain't the first time. The first time in Exodus 16, he brought them and they flew inside the camp. This time he brought them from across the sea and let them fall near the camp, not in the camp, near the camp, about a day's trip away on each side of the camp, all around it. So this time they had to go out and get it, and they had to walk a day's trip to go get it because he brought it from the sea because of the location where they are. And he was covering the ground to the depth of 3 feet. That's how many birds were there. All around the camp, 3 feet high. Because the complaint was, and this is where the New Testament starts to steal our stuff and say, well, where am I going to feed all these people? How are we going to feed all these people? Remember the disciples asked Christ, where are we going to get all these people? Where's all the food going to come from? Well, Moshe asked that question to Yahweh, so Yahweh brought quails. So what did the people do in 32? The people stayed up all that day and all that night and the next day gathering quails. That's what they did. The person gathering them collected 10 heaps, just piles and piles of birds. Then they spread them out for themselves all around the camp. And while the meat was still in their mouth before they had chewed it up, the anger of Yahweh flared up against the people, and Yahweh struck the people with a terrible plague. Therefore, the name of that place, was called Kiroth HaTa'avah, the graves of greed, because they buried the people who were so greedy. From Kiroth HaTa'avah, the people traveled from Hazeroth and they stayed at Hazarah. How did this happen? Because the people that were around them didn't want the hard life. They didn't want to be tested. You understand? So, and here part of this plague, and part of this was Yahweh says, you will not just eat 1 day or 2 days or 5 days. You won't just eat 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, or 20 days. I'm going to have you eat that for a whole month until it comes out of your nose and you hate it because you have rejected Yahweh, who is here with you. He's here with you, and distressed him with your crying and asking, why did we ever leave Egypt? Why did we ever leave Egypt? And Moshe said this in verse number 21, here, right? Here I am with 600,000 men on foot, and yet say, I will give them meat to eat for a whole month. If the flocks and herds were slaughtered for them, would it be enough? If all the fish in the sea were collected for them, would it be enough? Yahweh answered, has Yahweh's arm grown short? Right? Now you will see whether what I said would happen or not. And then he goes on and he tells them what it is. I wanted to show you that so you guys would understand that when I told you earlier the week, the birds were outside of the camp. It wasn't that they were never in the camp in one particular location, but I had to show you this because y'all wanted me to let you know that there are 2 times in which he did this. Okay, so one time is when they're traveling. The first time here in Exodus, he had to fall inside the camp, and he wasn't angry with them at that time. He was really trying to be understanding and gentle with them. Okay. And also, by the way, any type of mistakes I make, do not hold the Holy One of Israel accountable for it. Any mistakes I make, I take responsibility for them. I believe that this was a mistake because I did not share with you that there were 2 times. I only told you about one of the times. So anytime anyone shares something, if it happened more than one time, that person should be able to tell the people it happened twice. Just like when Moshe struck the rock, it happened twice. Just like where we're talking about right here, it happened twice. Okay. So whenever we speak, we have to make sure that we say exactly what Yahweh says, because I told you that it fell outside the camp. And then here it is. If you read this by yourself, you would say, David did not tell, he didn't tell me the truth. And if you never read in Numbers, then you would never know. But if I'm your teacher, I should be able to say that. So I apologize that I didn't bring that to your attention. I'm not right. I'm incorrect because I did not share with you. You can't tell somebody half the truth. You got to tell them the whole truth. You got to tell them everything, not just one aspect of it. Well, yeah, I was right. Yeah, I was right. I was right over here in Numbers. No. I'm wrong because I did not share with you the 2 times. I only gave you that 1 time, and that moved your mind towards that. Okay. So there's 2 times that happened. Right. So I apologize for that. Also, too, now we're ready to understand that this idea of Yahweh testing Israel, okay, is for the fact of them going out every day to get it for the Shabbat. Okay. And he tells them, and I'm going to summarize this, and you can read this later on today, that every time you're supposed to go get it, you're supposed to pull a double portion for it. Okay. On the 6th day. The Shabbat is the time in which Yahweh is trying to figure out whether or not they're going to follow my instructions for the Shabbat. The manna was given to direct the children of Israel to honoring the Shabbat. That's when it was given. Okay. That's when it was, because verse 23 says this. He told them, this is what Yahweh said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat. Tomorrow in the morning. So the morning is when the Shabbat starts. The Shabbat doesn't start in the evening. He said this evening, you're going to see the quail. In the morning, you're going to see the bread. Okay. So we see here, well, I kind of got a little ahead of myself. In 19, he says that no one is to leave any of it to the morning, but what? They didn't pay attention in verse 20. They did not listen to what he said. And some kept the leftovers into morning, and it bred worms and it rotted, which made Moshe angry at them. So they gathered it morning after morning, each person according to his appetite. And when the sun grew hot, it melted. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers, which are 4 quarts. Okay. Because one omer is 2 quarts. So 2 omers are 4 quarts. Okay. Per person, and all the community leaders, and they came and they reported to Moshe. He told them, this is what Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat. Tomorrow is a holy Shabbat. Bake what you need to bake, boil what you need to boil, and whatever's left over, set it aside for the morning. So there is your verse that tells you that the Shabbat is in the morning. In the morning, set aside for the morning. Tomorrow in the morning is the Shabbat. And they set aside it till morning, as Moshe had ordered, and it did not rot or have worms. So the Shabbat is a very set apart sacred day. And this is the right reason why we keep the Shabbat, because it's sacred and it's supposed to be perpetual forever for the children of Israel. He says, today eat that, because today is the Shabbat. Today you won't find it in the field. Okay. So gather is 6 days, but on the 7th day is the Shabbat. And on that day, there won't be any. But guess what happened? However, on the 7th day, because that's when the Shabbat is the 7th day of every week, some of the people, some, not all, some of the people went out to gather, and they found none. Okay. And guess what Yahweh said? Yahweh said, how long will you refuse to obey my mitzvot and my teachings? How long? How long are you going to go do what you want to do? And that's the issue. That's the issue. The issue for the Shabbat is a time of rest. It's a time of celebration. It's a time for us to do what Yahweh has asked us to do, which that's what we're doing today. I want to congratulate each of you because you have taken the time to want to do what Yahweh says. This is how he's testing you to find out whether or not you're going to do what he says. Okay. That's, anyone have any questions before I proceed? Anybody have any questions? Qua?
I have a question.
Yes, Jeannie.
Can
Shabbat
I
shalom.
guess, Shabbat Shalom. Can I guess about the wood that Moshe threw in the bitter water?
Yeah, you can.
Something. Could it be a moringa wood?
I'm not familiar with moringa, but I heard it's a root that you that's supposed to be used for purification. I'm pretty sure that he used something like that. Yeah. He doesn't
Yeah,
tell us what it is.
yeah, it's a root, but it's actually a tree
Oh, okay.
that grows near water in, I guess, Nigeria. And then I saw it in Tanzania.
Okay.
And it when you take a bite or the seed, it's bitter and then it becomes sweet. And so
Wow.
they use that for water purification. So I was just wondering, could that be a
Wow.
moringa?
Absolutely.
Which they call it a tree of life.
Wow.
I was
Yeah.
just kind of curious.
Well, no, thank you for that information. I didn't know that, but praise the Holy One of Israel. That's excellent. Absolutely. Yah's created everything. So he knows what roots and trees and, a lot of us have ailments and sicknesses and illnesses and disease. And when we get back to the land, Yah can actually give us what we need. He knows the bodies. He's created the nervous system, the dietary system, the digestive system, all of our systems. Yah knows them very, very well. He created them. So, the question is whether can you be healed? Yeah, absolutely. You could be healed. Absolutely. You could be healed, and you could be healed through the things that Yah has made. So that's awesome. Absolutely. Thank you for that contribution. I want to end our Torah study and our Shabbat study with something that I think will be very helpful to all of us. Let me show you right quick. Let me see. Let me see here. If it will behave, yes. Okay. All right, because I only have a little bit of time left, and I want to share this with you guys. Here you go. All right, so a lot of us know that the Torah gives us the insights to, salvation. And it tells us about Yah delivering Israel. Israel's first salvation is when he opened up the Red Sea. And he saved them through the Red Sea, and he destroyed their enemies. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, good. Awesome. All right. So this word is called Yeshua. Okay. And you guys have heard this word. Okay. It's used as a noun, and it's also used as a verb. Okay. Two different ways. Okay. And there's also a person named Yeshua that's used in the book of Nehemiah, and he's a priest. Okay. He's a priest. All right. So the word Yeshua has a root meaning. I want to show you what that means. By definition, it comes from the root called Yasha. Okay. And it means to deliver. Okay. That's what it means. It means to deliver. Yasha. Yasha.
Sound like Yeshayahu.
Huh?
That sound like Yeshayahu.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You about to get it. Why you stealing my thunder? Here you go. Salvation here is in Exodus, which is called Shemot. And Shemot means the names. Okay. So, and it means a character. That's what Shemot means. It means your character, meaning the names. Your name is your character. So anytime we read out of this book, Yah gives us names in order to tell us the character of something. Okay. So the first time that he talks about saving someone is right here. It says, on that day, Yahweh saved Israel from the Egyptians. On what day? The day that he saved them through the dead, through the sea. Okay. He saved him. He delivered him. So salvation is to be delivered. Very simple, right? Feel free to ask any questions. The next one I want to tell you is Bamidbar. And of course, there's over 206 different places where the word Yasha is used. Okay. And it's also used for Messiah, Mashiach, all these different words. Okay. So here in Bamidbar, and if you don't know what Bamidbar is, I'll tell you what Bamidbar is. Bamidbar is the word for numbers. Numbers is a Greek name. That's Greek yogurt. So I don't want you to get the Greek yogurt. I want you to get the Hebrew food. It's called Bamidbar. And Bamidbar does not mean numbers. It means in. Midbar means the wilderness. Just like Shemot means names, which is Exodus. This is the wilderness, in the wilderness. Okay. So this is where Yahweh says to them, when you go out to war in your land against an adversary who is oppressing you, you are to sound an alarm with the trumpets, and then you will be remembered before Yahweh, your power, not God, but your power, your El, okay? And you will be saved. That is Yasha. Yasha. You're going to be Yasha from your enemies. So salvation has to do with being saved from your enemies. So we got salvation for being delivered through killing Pharaoh's army. Now we got this one here that talks about when you go to war. You got to make a call to Yah, you sound a trumpet or a shofar, Yahweh will be with you and he'll save you. He'll deliver you. Just trying to tell you what salvation is. Davarim. The book of Davarim is the book of what?
Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy. Good. So the Deuter, well, I think I spell it right, Ronomy, okay, is the word Davarim. Okay, so Davarim means something. Davarim means words. Comes from the word di bar or davar. Davar. Okay, meaning words. That's where you get your word Deborah. Deborah. Okay, and she was a bee. Okay, the queen bee. Okay, so words, davar means the word. So davarim means words, plural. Davar by itself is word. Im means plurality. So words. So that's literally really like your S. Okay, and this right here means word. So words. Okay. So here it says, and he should tell them, and who the he here is the Kohen, which is a priest. Okay. Listen, Israel, you're about to do what? Battle against your enemies. Don't be faint-hearted or afraid. Don't be alarmed or be frightened by them, because Yahweh, your power, is going with you to fight on your behalf against your enemies and give you Yasha. They got victory there, but it's Yasha. So far, we see that salvation can be in a time of war, a time of being afraid, a time of going out to fight and do battle. And every time we see it here, it says Yahweh is saving somebody. Look at that. So far, Yahweh saved, Yahweh, your power will save you, and Yahweh will go out with you and fight against on your behalf and give you Yasha. Yahweh. Okay, here's something else. Oh, this is from the book of Yashayahu. And what is Yasha? We know what Yasha means. What is Yasha? What does Yasha mean? Yasha, what means what? Somebody tell me.
Like deliver.
Yasha, again, is to deliver, and it means to save. Okay. So this is Yashayahu. This is the book of Isaiah. His name is not Isaiah. His name is Yasha. Okay. So you're going to find a lot of Yasha's words, a lot of the word Yasha used in the book of Yashayahu, because it's talking about Yah's deliverance, talking about Yah's saving. So what does Yashayahu tell us? Yasha tells us, if you look at his name, it says Yasha. Yahu is an abbreviated form of Yah's name, Yahweh. So Yahweh saves, Yahweh delivers. For I am Yahweh, your power, the Holy One of Israel, your Yasha. I'm your savior. I have given Egypt as your ransom, and Ethiopia and Seba for you. I'm your Elohim. I am your Yasha. I'm your Yasha. I'm your Yasha. Okay. So you see who our salvation is and who has been our salvation and who has fought on for our behalf, right? Here we have another word. This is Yeremiyahu. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Ye means he. This means rise. And this is Yahweh. Yahweh, he will rise. So don't be afraid, Yaakov, my servant, says Yahweh, or be alarmed, Yisrael, for I will Yasha. I will not shuv, I will Yasha. They put return here, but it's really Yasha. You got to follow the ink, make sure you know the Hebrew. I will Yasha you from far away. I will save you and deliver you and your offspring. Not just you, your whole offspring from their country of exile. You, Yaakov, will again be quiet and rest like on a Shabbat, and no one will make him afraid. If you remember or you're paying attention, he keeps telling us, don't be afraid, don't be alarmed, don't be afraid, don't be alarmed, because I will go and make you quiet and I'll put you at rest. When he killed the Egyptians, did he make us quiet and make us rest and we celebrated and we'd have nobody to worry about anymore? Yes, that's Yasha. Yasha is to be delivered and to be saved and to be made at rest and to be quiet and not to be afraid. I'm saying all this because I'm going to ask you a question after this to see whether or not you guys are with it. Yeremiyahu 30:11, for I am with you to save you. That word save right there is what, somebody? Say it.
Yasha.
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 I'm Yasha. Okay. Says who? Yahweh.
Yahweh.
I will finish off all the nations where I have scattered you. However, you, Israel, I will not finish off, but I will discipline only as you deserve. That's all you're going to get. You're going to get more. Because I already told you in the Torah, if somebody deserves 49 stripes, you don't give them any more than that. Otherwise, you degraded that person. Okay. I will not completely destroy you, but I will destroy you, but not completely. I'm going to discipline you, but only as you deserve. Okay. Because my salvation for you is I am with you. I'm with you. And you know, when I save you, I will finish off the nations. So the question is, has this happened yet? Wisdom. This is wisdom. Kokma. Kokma is asking a question. Question is, what is this? Has this happened? Oh, no. So obviously there hasn't been any Yasha. Has there? So if there's Yasha, then he says, I'm with you. Is he with us to save us right now? No. You got to be honest. Come on. Don't. Did he?
No.
Okay. Did he says it here. Has he returned us from far away? No.
Nope.
Okay. He is our savior though, because he did this. He said, I've already done this before. I've been a savior to you. So I'm not asking you to look for anybody else. I'm the one who brought you out. I'm the one who delivered you from the Egyptians. I'm the one who, if you ever have war, you can call on me. I'm the one that will give you victory. Has Yah given us victory yet? No. Okay. And guess what they say? See, on that day, they will say, see, open your eyes. This is our power. We what? We waited for him to do what? To Yasha us. This is Yahweh. We put our hope in him. And we're full of joy. So glad he Yasha us. Yashanu. He saved us. We're waiting for him. You're not waiting on anybody else. You're waiting for him. See, this is our power. We waited for him to save us. 25 and 9. Ezekiel 34, 22 through 23. Therefore, by the way, I said that his name is Yakaziel, which his name in English is Ezekiel. Ezekiel. I forgot how to spell. I think it's I-E-L. Yeah, Ezekiel. Okay. That's not his name. His name is Yakezekel. Yakezekel. And that means he strengthens El. El strengthens. El is the one he strengthens. He's the one who's rising. He's the one who strengthens us, right? So listen to this. Yakazikel tells us in 34:22 through 23. Therefore, I, this is Yohe Wahe, okay, will save, which is what? Yasha. My flock, they will no longer be prey. Are you still a prey? Are they still killing you? Yes. And I will judge between sheep and other sheep. I will raise up one shepherd to be in charge of them, who? My flock. And okay, and he, this in particular shepherd, will let them feed. My servant Dawid, he will pasture them and be their shepherd. Dawid will feed us. Dawid would feed us. Dawid is going to be Yahweh's servant. And it's not a son of Dawid in a sense of him saying the actual name of this son is Dawid. This is a son of Dawid who finally gets his father's name. Dawid. So you ask yourself the question, when Yah raises up this shepherd, when he raises up this shepherd, the shepherd is going to be in charge of Israel, of them, not one tribe, but the whole house of Yisrael. Has this happened yet? No, it has not happened because Dawid right now is not pasturing them because he has to be somewhere to do this. Okay. But again, Yahweh says, therefore I. So Yohe Wahe is the I here, the pronoun I speaking. So Dawid is not going to save the flock. He's not going to Yasha. Yahweh is going to save his flock. I will save my flock. Not Dawid, not a son of Dawid, none of them. So you're not looking for a Messiah. We're not waiting on the Messiah. This is who you and I are waiting on. The I will. And from our studies in the past, we know that Moshe asked, well, who should I tell him to send me? And he said, tell him, Aye, Asher, Aye sent you. I will be who I will be. And what's your name? My name is Yo Hey Wah Hey. And that's my name forever. So don't get it twisted. Okay. But I'm not going to send David to save you. I will save you, and then I'll raise up David. And David's going to be raised up from among the people of Israel when he comes and gets them. It's a whole nother study. So you're my little flock that I want to save. Same book, Yakeziel, chapter number 36, verse 28 through 30. Hope you're writing these down. You will live in the land I gave to your ancestors. You will be my people, and I of course, pronoun Yohe Wahe is speaking, will be your power. I'm the power of all powers. Plain and simple. I will save, which is I will yasha. I want to yasha you again. From what? All your uncleanness. All your uncleanliness. Uncleanliness. I'm going to get you clean. And after I do this, after I yasha you, I will summon the grain and increase it. That's part of the salvation. That's part of me delivering you from your cleanliness. So I'm going to do the grain. I'm going to give you, I'm going to increase it physically. I'm not going to send famine against you physically, because that's physical. And I will, okay, multiply the yield of your fruit from your trees physically and increase the production in your field so that you will never again suffer reproach of the famine among the nations. So salvation for Israel has to do with being brought back to your land. Has that happened yet? Are you living in the land that I gave to your ancestors?
Nope.
Okay, so there has not been any, in Korean Hebrew, lo yasha. Lo means no. And this means no salvation yet. And that makes a lot of people angry because they want to be saved. I want to be saved. Well, you're not, okay? Because you're still in your uncleanliness. Same book, Yakeziel, Yah strengthens. He's saying these things to us because he's strengthening us by telling us what? The truth. The Israel do you want to hear the truth or not? Or do you want to have an imaginary salvation? Or I'm delivered from my sins and I'm going to heaven. Sounds nice, doesn't it? I got eternal life, but yet I'm still being killed and my people are destroyed. Okay. Let's keep it real. This in particular one has to do with one nation. One nation under a groove. Getting down with, okay, one nation. I will make them one nation in the land. The I will again is Yahweh. That's who's talking. I will. No one else can make this happen. I will make them one nation in the land. And on the mountains of Israel, and one king will be king for all of them. One king. Okay. But they can only have one king when they're one nation. They will no longer be two nations. And they will never again be divided into two kingdoms. They will never again defile themselves, okay, with their idols, their detestable things, or any of their transgressions, but I will yasha them from all the places where they have been living and sinning. So my salvation for you is taking you from all the places where you've been living and you've been sinning. Living and sinning. So our salvation is different than the salvation of the New Testament. Our salvation has to do with being made clean and being made right and not living in a certain place any longer, okay? And this is the Holy One of Israel speaking again, I will cleanse them. After what? After I yasha them from the places where they've been living, so that they will be my people and I will be their power. And again, my servant David will be king over them. King when they're one nation. And all of them will have one shepherd, and they will live by my rulings, my mishpatim, and they will keep and guard and do my regulations when they're one nation. Has that happened yet? Has the nation of Israel
The question.
Yes.
No. The answer is no.
The answer is no. And this is how you know that it hasn't happened, because Israel and Yehuda have always been separated and they've never been back together. So this has not happened.
I have a question.
Yes.
You're talking about David will be the king, and and are we talking about David himself or his seed?
We're talking about one of David's seed, and I'm going to read that to you in my next one. David's one of David's seeds, but the name of David's seed is David. This is a son that's going to be named David.
Gotcha.
That's why he says, "And David shall be," and okay. So he's giving a name, and in some texts he says, "And there will be a descendant from the house of David." David will always have descendants. Okay, but more specifically, he says David. So a lot of people say, "Oh, that's King David," but then that would contradict what Yah said about David having seeds. So that's when you get the resurrection piece, and that's why the story works for the Hebraians and the Christians, because they don't understand that David can have a son that could be named David. David has never had a son named David, but this in particular son, he's going to be named David, according to the text.
So is that why I want to say, like last year in Israel, they try to reveal this quote unquote young David?
Yes. That guy that they said was, and then they backtracked and said, no, he's not. Yes. And they try to rename him. Yes. That's exactly why, Jared. So David is going to come from among the children. David is among the exiles. David is among the exiles right now, because Yah says, I'm going to raise up David from among the children of Israel. And this is after he brings them out. Okay. So David's among us. Okay. Let me see. Last one. Yeremi Yahu, chapter 33, verse 14 through 16. Here, the days are coming, says Yohewahe, Yahweh, when I will fulfill this good promise, which I have proclaimed for the house of Israel and for the house of Yehuda. Okay. So these two houses, the house of Israel and the house of Yehuda. Okay. So he made a good promise to them. And the promise that he made to them is that when those days come, at that time, I will cause to spring up for David a branch of righteousness. Okay. This is the time where he says, a spring up for David a branch. I want to bring to your attention, in the English, they have the word branch capitalized and they have the word righteousness capitalized. Okay. I left it like this on purpose because I wanted to tell you that this is incorrect. In the Hebrew, there are no capitalizations of names and titles. They do this in order to what they call to Christianize it, to draw your attention to saying, oh, that's the branch. The word branch in Hebrew is called zemak. Okay, zemak means to sprout. So what he's saying is, I will cause to spring up a little sprout of David, okay, from David's line of righteousness. He'll be a branch of righteousness. He'll be a sprout, a little sprout that comes out of the ground. Okay, so he's going to grow up and he will do what is just and right in the land. He's going to do what's just and right. That's what he's going to do. This little sprout, not a branch, this little sprout of David is going to do what is just and right. He's going to do righteousness in the land. And when those days come, Yehuda will be saved. When what? When this springs up for David, this sprout. So in the time that the sprout comes, Yehuda will be saved and Yerushalayim will live in safety. So the question I had asked often in my classes is, has this happened? So they say that Yeshua is the one who came and he's the branch of righteousness. And then the question I have is, okay, so if he's the sprout, if he's this in particular sprout here, then he should have done this. He would have done what is just and right in the land. Okay. That's for everybody, not just miracles. That means he's ruling as a king. Secondly, when those days come, what days? The day that the sprout springs up, Yehuda will be saved. So when Yeshua was on the earth, was Yehuda in safety or were they being ruled by the Romans? They weren't saved. They weren't Yasha. They weren't Yasha, because Yasha, it means that you're delivered. If Yehuda was delivered, then you wouldn't have the Romans, you wouldn't have the Greeks. And if they were delivered in his time, then Jerusalem would have never been burned down. So he doesn't fit this in particular prophecy. Salvation, which is Yasha, has to do with safety. Everybody's going to be safe. Like we said in our other scriptures, that you will be at rest and you'll be at peace and you wouldn't be afraid. So salvation for us is not just, and you have food and you won't be in exile. You'll be gathered back to your land. So during that time of his appearance, was Yehuda saved? Answer. No. Did they ever suffer famine after he was there? Yes. Did they ever, was it burned down? Yes. Were they in safety? No. Was the name given to Jerusalem called Yahweh Zavaoth? Did they rename Jerusalem Yahweh Zavaoth? Or Zekenu? Has that name ever been given to Jerusalem? Is that what they call that now? The city, Yahweh is our righteousness? No. So he doesn't fulfill this good promise. Yah's promise of salvation for Israel has to do with Yahweh's sending a descendant from David. But every time he mentions this in particular king and shepherd, he calls him David, not just because he's from David's line only, but that is his name. That is the name of this in particular sprout. Okay. Let me show you one last thing. So we can get some context. Quickly, David. All right, Jeremiah 30. Jeremiah 30. I said to you that David is going to be raised from among the people of Israel. Okay. God tells them that, there's going to come a day for salvation. They call it Jacob's trouble. It's in this in particular chapter. Okay. Yah talks about everything he's going to do, like raising up someone. Okay. So listen to what he says. I will restore your health. Okay. This is after he just destroyed the nations. I will restore your health and I will heal you of your wounds, because they called you an outcast, Zion, with no one who cares about her. Thus saith Yahweh, I will return, I will again, Yahweh, Yaakov's captives to their tents, and I will take pity on his dwellings. Cities will be rebuilt on their own tails, places where they're supposed to be, palaces where they're supposed to be. From them will come thanksgiving and the sound of the people celebrating. Why? Because they just got saved. I will increase them. You keep noticing that I'm going to increase them. You keep noticing that? I will increase them. I will increase them. I will. Okay. And they will not be decreased. I will honor them and they will not be despised. Okay. Their children will be as they used to be, and their community will be confirmed in my presence. I will punish everyone who presses them. Their leader. Now, this is after he gets them. Their leader will be one of their own. Okay. Their ruler will come from among them. This is after he gets them from the lands where they've been. So David is among them. Then he says, I will cause him, who this ruler, to come close and let him approach me. For otherwise, who would guarantee his heart enough to approach me, says Yahweh, meaning his mind. Okay. You will be my people and I will be your Elohim. Look, the storm of Yahweh is bursting forth, or bursting out in fury, sweeping storm, rolling down on the heads of the wicked. Yahweh's fierce anger will not abate until he accomplishes the purpose in his mind, in his heart. In the Akaret Hamayim, you will understand. This chapter began with them saying that I'm going to save you and deliver you from your enemies. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Listen to that. We just read, for I am with you to save you. We already read that, but it's going to be a dreadful day. How dreadful will that day will be? There has never been one like it, a time of Jacob's trouble, but out of it he will be Yasha. On that day, says Yahweh, I will break his yoke from off your neck and snap your chains. Foreigners will no longer enslave him. Instead, they will serve Yahweh on that day. And who? And David, their king, whom I will what? Raise up for them. See? So after Yah snaps the chains, he breaks the yoke up off of our neck, he gets us out of chains, and we're no longer serving foreigners who enslaved us, then you and I are going to go and seek and serve Yahweh and David our king. Because Yah is going to raise up David from among the people of Israel. Remember here, he just said, David's your king, whom I will raise up for them. Well, how he's going to raise him? If you scroll down here, he says, I'm going to raise him from among them. Right here. Their leader will be one of their own, whom will come from among them. So if he's talking about breaking the chains, David is in captivity with his people. And that's the reason why you can't accept another salvation. Because if you accept the other salvation, then that's the salvation you're going to get. The one that you get where you say, I'm saved for my sins. The one that we're looking for is different. The one that we're looking for says this, in closing. Let me see what it's supposed to at nighttime. Okay, here it is. When those days come, and at that time, I will cause to spring up for David a branch, a sprout, a zemach of righteousness, and he will do what is just and right in the land. And when those days come, Yehuda will be saved, and Yerushalayim will live in safety. That's salvation. And the name given to her will be Yahweh Zakenu. Okay? For this is what Yahweh says. There will never be cut off from David, a man, to occupy the throne of the house of Israel. Nor will there ever be cut off from the Kohanim, who are Leviim, a man. Okay? So I'm always going to have a high priest. I'm always going to have a man from David's line, and I'm going to have a man from this man's line. I have a man from this man's line before me to offer burnt offerings and grain offerings and offer sacrifices every day. So for people to think that it's over, like there's no more sacrifices, there's no more offerings, they're gone, because Yahweh says there's always going to be a man from this tribe to serve me. There's always going to be a man from this man's family. This word of Yahweh came to Yeremiah. Here's what Yahweh says. He says, if you can break my covenant with the day and my covenant with the night, so the daytime and nighttime no longer come when they're supposed to, then my covenant with my servant David can also be broken, so that he will not have a descendant to reign from his throne, or Leviim or Kohanim to minister to me. To the degree, to what degree? To the degree that the armies of heaven are past counting. He's making reference that David's descendants and the seed of the Leviim are going to be past counting. They're going to outnumber the armies of heaven, which are the stars. And they're also going to outnumber the sand by the sea, past measuring. I will increase the descendants, plural, of my servant David and the Leviim ministering to me. So these men that are going to always come, that's the covenant that Yah made, that David will always have someone, and his descendants are going to outnumber the sand of the sea. David's descendants will not just be one man. This next David is coming. He's going to come. Yah's going to raise him up. He's going to have a son, and his son is going to take the throne. Then he's going to have another son, and he might have sons. And it's going to keep going on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And they're going to sit on the throne that Yahweh's throne that Yahweh puts in Jerusalem. And also not only David, but there's always going to be someone from the line of Levi who's always going to minister to him, always. Okay, 24. Haven't you noticed that these people are saying Yahweh has rejected the two families he chose? There's only two families that Yahweh chose to do the minister to him, and that is the family of David and the family of the Leviims. Hence, they despise my people and no longer look at them as a what? As a nation, because you can't have a nation without David, and you can't have a nation without a priesthood. So Yah is going to reinstitute David and the priesthood in order for us to be a nation again, because the nation needs a leader and it needs a priesthood. Because Yahweh says, and I'm going to make you guys a nation of priests to me. Here's what Yahweh says. Remember, it's about listening to his voice. If I have not established my covenant with the day and the night and fixed the laws to Kokim for the sky and the earth, then I will also reject the descendants of Yaakov. Okay. So if you guys can get rid of, if you can get rid of the laws that I've done for here, then for the sky and for the earth, then I'm going to also reject the descendants of Yaakov and of David, my servant. Okay. And not choosing from his descendants people to rule over the descendants of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Yah chose these two families. For I will cause their captives to come back, and I will show them compassion. You see? So David has to be raised from among, and guess what? So if Yah is talking about raising the descendants of David, and he's talking about raising the descendants of the Lavaim, question for you, so it can all make sense. Is Yah raising the descendants of the priests from the dead, like everyone wants to say that he's raising David from the dead? What does logic tell us? What is logic? Did he say, I'm going to raise up from the dead the Lavaim? And where are the Lavaim at? Who are the family of the descendants of Levi? Where are they at? Somebody tell me, where are they? You guys ain't tired, are you? They're scattered. They're scattered among the nations. And that's in Isaiah chapter number 66. They've been scattered. How about David? You think David just has one little guy that's laying in the grave somewhere that he's going to resurrect? I thought Christ was resurrected. So why would he have to be re-resurrected? David is among the children of Israel. And it's not a big deal. I know we want David to be this warrior, this guy who could, play the harp and all this kind of stuff, right? That was his gift and his talent. Yahweh is going to raise up one of David's sons who has a mind that Yah likes. And he says, I like your mind because you gave your mind to me. And it's already been chosen. And he's among the captives. He is. Any of us can be David. Any male of us can be David. Any of our sons can be David. You don't know what tribe you're from. And that's the reason why the Christians want to get rid of this, because they're afraid that if you got this information, maybe you'll raise your kids right, or maybe you'll act right. You possibly could be David. You don't know. Yah says, who is this who could come to me and approach me? You ladies, you guys can you guys could be the mother of David. You could. Easily. Question? Anyone have any questions? That's our study today.
I have a question.
Yeah, Gil.
In the readings that you were showing us, what version were you using? Because I was trying to follow along, but I couldn't find the version. Okay,
so one of the versions that I use is called the Bible. It's by Bible Tools. Okay, I'm showing it to you up here at the top. It's called Bible Tools, right? Bible Study Tools. The website is up here at the top. It says BibleStudyTools.com. Okay.
Bible Study.
Yep. And you're going to go there, and it's going to say Bible, right? And you got Bible, and then Study, and then Tools up here. Yep. And what you're going to do is you're going to go right here to this Bible one right here. Right. Okay. And when you go there, you're going to want to get out of here. You're going to click on it and go do a drop down, and it's going to say Bible versions.
Right.
So you're going to go to Bible version, and they have all these different translations. Okay. I've looked at all of them. The only one that's close to the Hebrew, and it's not 100%, it's like 99 or 98%, is this one called the Complete Jewish Bible by David Stern. You're going to click on, Complete Jewish Bible. Now, I don't like the name, but it's okay. It's just a tool. It's the closest that you're going to get with the Hebrew. It's the closest. It is the closest that you're going to get to the Hebrew. His translations are real close.
Okay.
So when I read this, I'll read it and I'll go back, and I found errors in his translations though. So I won't say that there's one without translational errors.
Right.
But if you know the Hebrew language, then you'll be able to go, that's not what it said. Okay. Even in the Bible Hub, even when you read that, you got to go ahead and you got to know the Hebrew. You got to go back to the lexicon and you got to look at what do those Hebrew roots mean and where they come from. So it's like you're going to be on a mission, like digging all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you want to look at that. Okay. And you want to study the Torah. The Torah is the main thing to everything. Because that's the path that we're on. Because through that, go ahead, Akoti.
I was just going to say that the Bible app also carries the CBJ. Just YouVision, I think it's YouVision, the Bible app on Google Play and Apple, the Apple Store, YouVersion app, and then you go and you download that, and you can go into the complete Jewish Bible and get that one as well.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
Yeah. Those are going to be your tools. So you're going to use BibleHub.com for your Hebrew, right? To click on it and look at the words and start looking at the letters and trying to, it's like a puzzle. You're going to figure it out. You're going to go to Bible study tools, and you're going to go to the Complete Jewish Bible, and you're going to read that because it's real close to the Hebrew. And, if something comes across your mind, but like, that didn't sound right. When has Elohim ever wished anything? You're like, nah, that's not right. And then, we got to follow things and find out, well, is he talking to first person, second person, or third person? Is he talking to a singular or plural? So you got to know when you have to ask questions, and that's what we do in order to have wisdom. So the more questions you ask, and even when you're reading, have a pen and paper on your side and ask yourself questions when you read something like, why did that happen? And why? And then you keep asking why and stuff, and you go search for it, and that's what it would be. So the reason why I'm pretty, familiar with the scriptures is because I'm always asking questions. I'm asking Yah the question, and he may give you the answer, and he may wait a week or two to give it to you. He may wait a month. Just depends on when he wants to give it to us. It's a development. It's a process. So, always feel free to ask questions because you need to get the answers. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else? All right. So in summary, what I want to tell you is that this week's Torah portion, Yah had delivered the children of Israel out of their bondage. They didn't want to leave, as we discussed earlier this week. They wanted to stay. Their behavior is one of being conditioned. They've been conditioned for years and years and years of slavery. And the only way that they were able to start being out of this condition, okay, ultimately was by them being put to death, okay, because they refuse to listen to what he said, okay. Yah's guarantee is, if you refuse to do what I say, I'm taking you out to the wilderness like I did your ancestors, and I'm going to judge you face to face. Yah has to send Moshe because Moshe was able to touch the people of Israel with a very gentle touch. He's a very humble man. That's why he was crying to Yah in chapter number 11 of Numbers, saying, are these my kids? Why are you doing this to me? I'm your servant. You got people crying all the time. They're just complaining. So Yah purposely chose him because he was humble. He can endure it. And then ultimately he allows him to share the responsibility, which is a whole nother study on with the elders of the community. So he didn't have to bear that burden alone. Israel is mentally messed up. Okay. Israel is messed up, and it's a tragedy. Slavery and being in another person's land, in another culture, in another language, bears upon you and it strips you of everything. You have actually suffer from Stockholm syndrome. We suffer from cognitive dissonance. We have a lot of mental issues. Mental health for Israel is one of the biggest things, and that's one of the curses that Yah says, I'm going to put on you. You're going to go out of your mind. You're literally going to go crazy. So there's a lot of mental illness in our community, and it's serious. And the only way they can ever be healed is if they would go to Yah. Going to the counselors and going to the people who don't understand us or our culture is not the people to go to. The individual we need to go to is Yah to ask us or ask him to remove that from us. Okay. So me and my wife were talking, and I was kind of laughing about it, but it was real. I suffer from some degree of mental illness. And what I mean by that is people say, well, you're crazy. No, I'm not crazy. What I would say is this: my learning how to deal with people and to deal with different situations has been very difficult. You're pressed in so many ways. You're told that you have to be a certain way and you got to act a certain way and you have to live a certain way. And so you change your identity, you change the way you walk, the talk, the way you eat, the way you dress, and you've been putting on this act for all these years, and you find out that it's been nothing but an act because, shave your beard off, you want to get this job. You can't dress like that. So you never really have a true culture and identity. You're trying to fit in, right? You're getting in where you fit in. And so that causes mental problems for a person. Okay. A lot of us cannot sustain relationships because we don't know how to deal with the other opposite sex, because we have something going on inside the mind. The mind is where everything is. That's where Yah is talking to us. That's what he's trying to change and to cleanse. When he talks about your heart, he's talking about your mind. Okay. So we have to give our minds over to him. We're disobedient by nature. We're going to do things our way. We're very stubborn. We're very stiff-necked. So he's like, I can't have that either. You guys can't do that. Okay. So we are suffering from a lot of different things. And he said, if you do what I tell you, I won't put the diseases of Egypt that I put on them. But the curses in chapter 28 of Deuteronomy, he says, I'm going to put this curse on you. And a lot of those curses have to do with mental curses. I'm going to make you afraid. You guys are going to suffer from high anxiety. You guys are going to live in a world of uncertainty. That causes emotional stress, and then it causes disease, and then ultimately it causes your death. So what Yah is trying to do is bring us back out of our death by changing the way that we live our lives. Because stress can bring, that's the number one killer. Stress brings more problems on you, not only from a psychological, but mentally, physically, spiritually, you're all messed up. So you have to give that away. You have to give up on your grudges. You can't hold any grudges because it's hurting you. It's hurting you. You have to give up on the complaining because it's hurting you. It's hurting you. So we're being injured. We're self-afflicted. So everything that we do and everything we experience in this life has affected us. And the kind of life that we supposed to have lived is one of great joy and celebration and thankfulness. But we don't have that. We don't have baskets to bring to Yah. We have nothing to offer him except for thanks for him sharing the Torah with us, which ultimately is the best of all things. However, he still wants to give us a basket, and he still wants to give us our land. He still wants to give us everything that we were promised. Okay. So we're operating on promises. And if you hear something that you heard before, don't get that, discouraged and say, well, I can't come back to class, because he's talking about the same thing he talked about a couple of weeks ago. Yah wants us to talk in cycles. So you're going to hear the same thing over and over again. You're going to hear exile. You're going to hear slavery. You're going to hear rebellion. These are the words you're going to hear all the time. You're going to hear Shabbat. You're going to hear Kadosh. You're going to hear about this. You're going to hear the same stuff over and over again. I want to keep telling you about the shepherd staff. I'm going to keep telling you how powerful he is. I'm going to keep telling you what his name means. And guess what? That's what the sheep do. They go to one location to the next, and they don't go they're not taking a new journey. They're taking a trip that they're familiar with, because Yahweh's way is a path, and it's already outlined, and it's other people have traveled it, and you and I are new to the travel, and then we just got to stay on that path. So let me encourage you today. I know it's a lot of information today, but we're about teaching. I'm not about getting you to believe anything. I don't want you to believe nothing. I want you to ask questions so you can learn. And then you can see how you'll manifest in your life. You start eating right and talking right and living right. You'll see it. You're like, oh, wait a minute, this is real. This is real, Israel. This is real. You're not going to be on some space automatic magic. You ain't in no magic tricks. It's all good. Mm-hmm. So, praise the Holy One for everyone attending today. Anyone else before we close? I got a Hebrew class. It's coming up at 4:00 this afternoon, Pacific Standard Time. So we're going to be going over that. We're going to go over our Hebrew roots, and I'm going to probably spend probably like an hour or so with those. And we're going to put that in. We're going to get that today on the Shabbat. Okay. Anything else? Any statements, contributions, anything anybody want to talk about? Have a questions?
Any questions?
Very good lesson.
Oh, praise the Holy One. Thank you. Toda Rabbah.
Toda Rabbah.
Toda Rabbah. Yes.
Thank you. That means what? Thank you. What?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Toda is thanksgiving, and Rabbah means many, many, many thanks. So Toda Rabbah.
Toda.
Yeah, Toda Rabbah. Yes, Holy One. Praise the Holy One of Israel. Anyone else? If no one else has any questions, I want to, say Shabbat Shalom to you. Have a wonderful day. Continue to celebrate and continue to rest and continue to enjoy this wonderful day that Yah has made. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Praise be to the Holy One of Israel.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat